Poker. A few years ago, this sport took the nation by storm. So many tournaments, so many champions, so many stories. But a major tour, one that covers the entire archipelago, has not been experienced in years, leading to a shortage of heroes, a decline in fresh faces, a dormancy of the enormity of the beautiful mind game. The birth of the new Philippine Poker Tour changes all of that and will continue changing the landscape of poker in the country. 10 legs across the nation, each leg guaranteeing 1 million pesos. And for one champion, a seat in the World Series of Poker 2013 main event, as the 10-leg titleists clash in the Battle of Champions this March. But each journey begins with a first step for 341 hopefuls who have converged at this legendary haven of poker. Each has forked over the buy-in of 5,500 pesos. Now the voyage to stardom begins.
Welcome to the first leg of the Philippine Poker Tour here at the Metro Card Club. I'm Bianca Saldua, and let's get some poker action on.
We started out with 341 hopefuls here at the first leg of the Philippine Poker Tour in the Metro Card Club. Now we're down to our final table, the last 9. Ron Regis, your thoughts on this final table?
Well, yeah, you mentioned there are 9 players, but 3 of them have most of the chips. So for the other 6, it's going to be quite a scramble to get up there with the leaders. But 2 of the shortest stacks are actually 2 of the players that are probably most feared in this final table. I'm talking about Ian Briona and Jay Morales, so it's going to be fun to watch how they can climb out of this hole.
Without further ado, let's turn you over to our tournament director, Brian Malantic.
Congratulations, players. Final 9 out of 341 players. So these players have a chance to win up to 600,000 pesos. Dealer, let's shuffle up and deal.
Okay, now before we get started, perhaps you're curious to learn a little bit more about our 9 players in our final table.
Blinds are at 12,000, 24,000, and Richard Tampepe with pocket nines has made a raise from a seat away from under the gun, 60,000. What's on his mind, Ron?
I'm sure he wouldn't mind getting a call here. He's got a premium hand, but Jay Morales with a short stack is sitting on a premium hand as well. He might give him more than a call.
Player all in.
And Jay Morales has shoved all in with ace king off. Let's learn a little bit more about our car dealer from Pasig, Jay Morales.
My name is Jonathan Morales. I'm from Pasig, 38 years old. I placed fifth in the first DICC Cup. I won the 2010 APT team and individual tournament. I haven't played with the other players yet, but two of the players I've played with are aggressive. So I'm planning to play the hands and play 12. The Philippine Poker Tour has a very nice structure. 1 hour per level, big stack. So skill really plays out well. It's not just about luck or 20 minutes blind. It has a very good structure. My stack is below average. I have less than 300,000. I guess it's 12 times the big blind. I think the other players don't have it. I might push with garbage. It's been tiring. The 3 days have been grueling. I played the day one seal, the last day for the day one, and played Sunday and now. So it's been really tiring.
So Richard Tampepe with the middle pair is facing a big decision right now, Ron.
Well, he could be way behind if Jay has an actual monster in his hand. But there's also a huge possibility because Jay has such a short stack that he could be making this move with exactly this kind of hand, which is what Richard is thinking about, that he might actually be ahead.
And Richard, with a pretty big stack, is going to make the call. And Jay Morales' tournament life is on the line. I think Richard's going to be happy to see ace-king here.
Well, definitely, he'd like to see a hand he's ahead of, even if only slightly, and he'll take this. He'll take this matchup any day.
Pocket nines against the ace-king of Jay Morales.
Well, I'm sure he would rather that Jay had pocket eights to be drawing almost dead, but because Jay having ace-king here is not such a bad spot for him.
7-8-6 rainbow. That's a great flop for Richard. That also gives him an open-ended straight draw.
You can tell by the smile on Jay's face that that's a smile that says, I'm smiling because I don't like what I'm seeing right now.
Turn card is a jack. That's no help to Jay as well. He needs an ace or a king here, or else he is out of our final table.
Crowd shouting for an ace here.
River is a 9. It's going to be trips for Richard. He takes the pot, and we say goodbye to Jay Morales.
Well, we didn't see much of Jay, but he went with a good hand.
And Richard takes down a huge pot.
Congratulations of getting this far out of the 341 players who are actually trying for this.
To my opponents, may the better bluffer win. To my friends, Vip, June, and my son JJ, and my daughter Leia, hi there.
All right, congratulations once again. That was Jay Morales, one of our veterans here at the Philippine Poker Tour.
There has been some unbelievable poker going on here at the Metro Card Club. Ron Regis, what do you think?
Well, it's pretty unbelievable, but it's always fun to watch. It's nice to see the veterans and these absolute donkeys go at it.
Okay, there's more action coming from the Philippine Poker Tour after this break. Welcome back. We are now down to 8. Our chip leader is Joseph San Diego. Richard Tampepe, who was chip leader after 2 days, is right behind him. Dexter Luna with a very healthy stack as well. Now we'll turn you over to Bianca Saldua, who is with the chairman of the Philippine Poker Tour, attorney Jojo Aliado.
All right, poker fans, I'm here with Sir Jojo Aliado. He's one of the founders here for the Philippine Poker Tour.
Philippine Poker Tour is actually bringing into fruition the dream of the Filipino poker player, which is to play in a major tournament like the World Series of Poker. Some people say that it is the tournament, the Olympics of poker. The program that we are undertaking is we intend to develop players over a long period of time. It's not going to be one shot, one tournament. We're having 10 legs, and the 10 legs are going through different parts of the country. 10 champions that emerge from the 10 legs eventually sit down in one table, the Battle of Champions. The one champion that emerges from that table of champions is the one that will be sent to the World Series of Poker.
And we are back at action on the table. This is Bernie Angeles. Blinds are 15,000, 30,000 with a 4,000 ante, and Angeles is going to toss his 9-8 of diamonds.
Not in the mood to speculate there.
Wesley Shoko spent some time in Alaska, originally from Caloocan City, and he's going to make a move with 5-4 suited.
Well, in Alaska, if your hand total is a 9, then it's a hand you should go with. Actually, he's trying to make a move for the spot at the minimum cost. He raised the minimum, but it's actually a significant amount of the stack he started with. 60 out of 160 total that he has.
Dexter and Edwin are not interested, but
Player call.
looks like Reynaldo Villegas wants to see a flop.
He didn't even show us his hand. He's just going to try to hit a flop for the minimum with any kind of hand.
And our flop is a
Fine, sir.
queen, a king, and a 3 rainbow. 3 different
Check.
suits. He
Player
checks,
all in.
and a quick all-in from Wesley.
The K from check not even out of Ray's mouth, and Wesley had shoved and tried to take down his spot.
And Ray is going to let this one go, and it's a big win here for Wesley Sioko with just 5-4 suited. And you got to play
Blinds
poker,
and
don't you?
antes.
Play poker in Alaska where you don't need a hand.
More thrilling poker action when we come back only here at the Philippine Poker Tour.
Hello, I'm Bob Guerrero, and now I'd like to teach you about one of the strongest hands you can get in No Limit Hold'em, the straight. A straight is when you have 5 cards in sequential order. You can use both your whole cards and the community cards. In this case, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. When you're on the verge of getting a straight, it is called a straight draw. In this situation, we are 1 card away from a straight because we have 10, Jack, Queen, and King. So if we get a 9 or an ace, we have our straight. This is called an open-ended straight draw because there are 2 different kinds of cards that can give us the straight. This is also known as an up and down straight draw. Here's another straight draw. There's a 5, a 6, and a 7 on the board, and I am holding a 9. If an 8 comes out on the turn, I have completed my straight. This is called an inside straight draw or a gut shot, and the chances of me getting the straight are not as good as the chances of me getting the open-ended or outside straight draw. In that situation, I had 8 outs. In this situation, only 4, because there are only 4 cards in the deck that can give me my straight, the 4 8s. Welcome back, Bob Guerrero and Ron Regis on the call. Blinds are still 15,000, 30,000, and there's Edwin Hui. His business is advertising billboards. He has late position, cutoff position, and he is raising to 65,000.
Well, that's a little bit more than double the blind, and that's his business, advertising. And right now he's advertising that he has a hand, but the button's not gonna buy it, I think.
Joseph has 10-9 of hearts.
65,000 for him, and he is gonna join. And Bernie Angeles, who is not gonna be showing us his hand, has 35,000.
He's just defending with his big blind. I don't think he has a good enough hand to want to show the entire nation. So he's going to wait till he hits the flop maybe to show us what he's got. Joseph here, he had the button and he had a hand that's very tempting to call with. So you could see him picking up chips as soon as Edwin had made that initial pre-flop raise.
Bernie obviously feels he has the pot odds. The flop is 6 of spades, 7 of diamonds, and 10 of spades. There is top pair for Joseph, as well as a inside straight draw, and Edwin has flopped a draw himself.
He has the other part of the inside straight draw, so, and also the ace high is still good, but more importantly, Edwin has the initiative. He's been checked to here, and now he gets a chance to show these other two players that, hey, I was strong coming in, and I'm still betting now.
Edwin has bet less than 1/3 of the pot, 113,000. A bit weakish, I think, Ron.
Not as strong as he'd like to show, maybe, but maybe he's just trying to probe into the spot and take it down for the minimum. What he doesn't know is Joseph actually has a hand here that he might want to call with, or worse, even go all the way with. Top pair, inside straight draw. And if he puts Edwin on garbage from stealing, then he might try to outplay him.
And he's going to reap up 263,000 total. Bernie,
I don't even
gonna
know what
toss.
Bernie has. I don't think he cares anymore. He's out of his hand.
and Edwin is going to let this one go. Joseph's going to win a huge pot.
Well, Edwin was advertising, but he didn't have the product to back it up.
Let's learn a little bit more about this 35-year-old Canadian who is our only foreigner here in our final table in leg number 1.
I played at the Metro a few times. I do respect some of their games. I don't necessarily respect their raises. They are good players. There are some good players, but you know, we are here. We are at the final table. There's 9 of us. Anything can happen. And I don't think it's a good idea to go to the final table fearing anything, whether it's bubbling, coming second, coming third. You know, I'm here to win. I don't think I fear anyone at the table. I think it's a great thing that Jojo Lado has done for the Philippines, especially for poker. It should be the home for poker in Asia, actually. I actually think that, you know, as opposed to the focus on Macau and Singapore, the focus really should be here. You have more players. You have a lot of homegrown talent. People are getting better. You already have the biggest poker room in Asia. So I do think that there's a lot of room for, in the Philippines for this, and I think that what Jojo is doing with the PPT will actually bring to light, bring to TV, to the masses, you know, what kind of poker, you know, atmosphere there really exists in the Philippines. I think it's a great thing. I'm not a very materialistic person. Money probably won't change my life too much. I don't really have any plans. I haven't thought about it. I came here to win. The distinction of coming first is more important than whatever prize money it could be. Yeah. Maybe if it's the WSOP, maybe I have a different answer for you.
We are at our next hand, and Dexter Luna's not interested.
Player all in.
And Edwin Hui has shoved all in with Queen 9. He has 231,000, about 8 big blinds, and it's now up to Ray to call.
Ray's got a big hand. Edwin's in trouble here. I mean, Edwin just basically shoved in because no one is... It was unraised coming into him on the button, and he has to make a play for the pot. This is the best play Edwin can make.
Ray with Ace King offsuit.
I don't know what he's thinking about. He's thinking if he left the light on at home, or did I leave the iron plugged? What's he thinking about here?
Well, I think he's thinking of letting this one go, and he is
No.
exactly what he's done.
He did not think about folding and actually do it. He only had to call less than half what his stack is. He could take the hit. He has a hand that pretty much outruns a lot of people in tournament poker. This is what you have to go with.
We are looking for the very first winner of the first leg of the Philippine Poker Tour. Who will it be? Find out when we return.
And this is our latest chip count. Joseph Sandiego has built a bit of a cushion over Richard Tampepe and Dexter Luna. And how about Wesley hanging in there, isn't he?
Hanging in there, the Alaskan Ape is hoping to make a move pretty soon before he gets squashed by these three big stacks.
Now let's rejoin the action. Lines are still 15,000 and 30,000. This is the Philippine Poker Tour, and the overall winner, the champion of champions, gets a spot in the main event of the World Series of Poker, Ron.
It's a big show of poker tournaments. That's why people play poker tournaments, to make it to that one and maybe get on TV or win $12 million.
Edwin Hui still in the mix here in our final table. And Ray has gone all in with Ace-8 suited.
How about this? Bernie has pocket tens and he might just make a call here. Funny thing about Ray though, he didn't want to put his tournament life on the line with Ace-King, but here folded to him, he's willing to put all the chips in the middle and say, I want this spot and you're going to have to take it from me, even though I only have Ace-8. Well, he doesn't know that Bernie's got a real hand here and he's thinking about it.
578,000 in this pot, and this is what we call in poker going into the tank, really thinking, does he want to risk his all those chips on middle pairs? He's gonna let it go. Richard Tampepe also is gonna fold, and Ray picks up a pretty good pot here with Ace-8 of clubs.
It wasn't really the hand, it was like the timing and maybe sensing that Bernie wasn't ready to go put his tourney on the line.
And now let's look at what these players experienced over the last 2 days of action.
Metro Card Club is the #1 card club in the country. I've been playing here for several years already.
Maganda yung poker dito eh. A lot of skilled player here. Poker is a sport because it's a mind game.
Math is involved.
Not a gambling.
Equity.
We use our skills.
It's a sport for everybody. Poker is a sport because math is involved, equity is involved. I think the only part that you can't practice or train on poker is luck.
That you play good, you run good. You play good, you run bad. You play bad, you run good. So you're asking my game, I play bad and I run bad.
Philippine Poker Tour, napakagandang event to, especially for the Filipinos who wants to play. The champion will have a chance to play the World Series of Poker. That's why this is a very good event for the Filipino.
Everybody is into poker, I guess.
More action from the PPT coming up. That's really how it goes in a major tournament like this. It can really be a grind, right, Ron?
Maybe grueling is the word that comes to mind. These guys have played hard poker. Come here, play 10 hours a day for the last 3 days, and now they're here at the final table, and you might notice they're getting a lot cautious. And they don't want to do anything reckless. Like Ray with A7 might be thinking of something reckless here and might go shove it in again.
Ray Villegas looks like he's going to pass on this one. Bernie Angeles still very much in the mix.
Look at Ray. Bobby doesn't look happy about letting that ace go, but he just has to live with it here.
Now on to Wesley.
Wesley's stack is so short you can barely see where they are. Oh, there. He has a few chips over there, and he just limps in.
Queen 5 of diamonds.
The strength of his hand is betrayed by his action, just limping in from the button.
And Dexter Luna has woken up with Ace King offsuit. It's just 15,000 for him to call.
You know he's not gonna call. He knows he's not gonna call. He's already counting out chips here. He just needs to figure out how much to raise to make it look like maybe that he's stealing and entice maybe a shove here from Wesley, who might be trying something fancy with this limp on the button.
And Dexter is taking his sweet time with a big hand here.
He's sweating him. He's sweating him out. He's looking through his peripheral vision, trying to see if Wesley is showing any sign. Oh, there's the raise.
108,000. The pot is now 215,000, and Wesley is in a tough spot now.
Look at Dex, the controlled tone, the controlled way he moves his chips into the table, trying to steady his nerves. He's got a big hand and he wants a call for sure.
Edwin Hui is not going to participate in this hand, and it's now up to Wesley to make a decision.
Wesley here has a decision now, but definitely he wants to save face by pretending he has to think about this hand at all. Or he might try something crazy here, and that's what Dex wants. Look at him, just pretending he doesn't even care or know where he is right now.
Queen 5 suited, not a very strong hand, but I guess he wants to give the image that he only goes into hands with premium hands. And he's going to let it go. And Dexter Luna wins 215,000. So how do you analyze that hand, Ron?
It's a pretty good pot. Wesley tried to get into a flop really cheap since he had the button and maybe do some outplaying post-flop or maybe hit 3 queens for quads.
And now Bianca will show you how to read the board.
Hi, I'm Bianca Saldua, and by now you already know about No Limit Hold'em, one of the most popular poker variants in the world. They say it takes a minute to learn, but a lifetime to master. But of course, it is a tough game, as you all know, especially since you need to match your whole cards with your community cards. So let's see if you can read the board like a pro. The river has already been dealt, and 2 hands have already gone all in. So who wins the pot? Find out when we return. Welcome back to the Philippine Poker Tour. Earlier, we gave you this situation. So who do you think wins the pot? If you think that the ace-high flush won it, then you'd be called a fish. Cause this player just rivered his straight flush.
And this is how it stands at the moment. Joseph, our chip leader, with 1.9 million. But Dexter and Richard are in striking distance.
Ray right down the middle, but the important thing is we start a table with 3 players in control, and the same 3 players are mostly in control of the chips here.
And Ian is on the respirator, but still alive. And Ian Brion is not in a very good position to attack from. He's in middle position, Ron.
Well, he's got to hope it's folded to him if he's going to make any kind of move, or that he actually gets a hand.
Reynaldo Villegas has worked in Saudi and trying his luck now in poker.
Well, he plays a lot. He plays a lot here at the Metro Card Club. And it's good to see one of these veterans get to the final table and show some of the young ones how it's done.
There's no substitute for experience. And it's hard to say whether he likes his hold cards very well from his expression.
Well, he's got an ace, and the other card doesn't really matter. The ace was enough to get him thinking about whether he should just stick all his chips in the middle and take the pot.
Bernie has folded his hand, and Richard has made a raise. Twice the big blind with ace-10. And how about this? Edwin Hui has the same hand, another ace-10.
Well, it's something to think about. He's got a moderately big ace, bigger than a usual ace, but he has to call a previous raiser. So he's waiting for the action to get to him, see what Wesley does and Ian before he gets to really decide if he wants to play his ace-10 to a raise from the chip leader, one of the chip leaders.
So Wesley is out. And Edwin Hui is thinking about this. Ace-10 is one of those hands, you know. You don't want to call with it. You don't want to play it passively. You want to be the one raising with it. He's going to let this one go.
Yeah, I don't mind that fold at all. It's not a really good spot to get in there. You want to get in there first and not be following someone with enough chips to bust you out with an ace that isn't really that strong.
And Joseph is going to call with what we call the rookie hand, King Jack.
Well, first of all, he's defending his big blind, so maybe, he'd try to hit the flop. It's not really something you want to get into a fight with against a big stack.
And our flop is 10 of spades, 8 of hearts, 2 of spades. Richard has top pair, top kicker.
And Joseph has absolutely nothing. So if he wanted to see a flop and see if he hit it, well, he's seen the flop and he's missed it. He's checked and Richard has bet.
A weakish bet, less than 1/3 of the pot. It's up to Joseph here. What do you think he's going to do?
Well, if he hasn't folded yet, if he has to think about this, then maybe he's thinking of making a play. Now, he can make it now by check raising something big and hope that Richard has air, or he can just flat call this and wait for the turn and hope something scary comes out on the turn and he can make a play then. Because if he's not thinking of making a play, he should just fold this right now. He's got nothing. He's got king high and not even much of a draw. Nothing connects to his cards that well. He doesn't have any kind of draw, so he's trying to measure Richard and see if he can raise him off his hand, maybe.
And Joseph has called with nothing but overcards here after the flop.
Well, nothing but a plan. Right now he's what you call floating on air. He's continuing in this hand with pretty much nothing, hoping that a future card in the turn or the river could turn his little float into something that could really fly off.
7 of hearts, and Joseph is checking again, and Richard again with another bet of just under 1/3 of the pot.
Well, he's checking to give up, or he's checking to make a play now. I mean, he's got to make a play. The 7 kind of connects with the 8 and the 10, so if he wants to represent that he was drawing, now's the time to kind of do it. But if he can't pull the trigger on it, then he should just really fold.
Battle of 2 very big stacks here in our final table. And
interesting you bring that up. They are the 2 biggest stacks, which is probably why Joseph is thinking of continuing here. He's got so many chips, he can just make a play later, I guess.
It's another smooth call. Joseph is playing this hand very passively.
Well, it's passively because we can see what he has, but to Richard, it could be pretty scary. What is he calling here?
A river is a blank. It's a 5 of diamonds.
Well, that's nothing to pull the trigger on. If it was a spade, then Joseph could have made it look like he was drawing.
Joseph checks. Now it's up to Richard. And once again, he's a very small bet relative to the pot.
Well, he wants to get called. I guess he's figured out that Joseph has nothing here, the way he's played it. And he puts in a bet that maybe a weaker 10 or something that paired with the 8, anything that hit the board could call. But if you hit nothing, then you can call with nothing.
And Joseph is going to let this one go. Can't really agree with the way he played that hand, Ron.
Well, yeah, I was hoping he'd pull the trigger at some point. They were so deep between them. They had so many chips to make a play with that at any point in the hand, he could turn it around on Richard and make it look like he actually has something much bigger than the top pair that Richard has. And all he needed to do was to pull the trigger there. If he wasn't going to pull the trigger, then he should have just given up as soon as he had missed the flop.
Yes, because if you don't have cards, you can at least represent that you have good cards and pretend that you have a hand. Now, let's learn more about poker strategies from Asia Poker Academy coach, my partner, Ron Regis.
Hi, I'm Ron from the Asia Poker Academy, and I've got a pretty good hand. Now, normally, when you have a good hand, you want to get your chips into the middle as fast as you can and hope he calls. But sometimes, you gotta let a guy catch up. And the only way to do that is to play your hand slowly. Or you might have heard the term, it's called slow playing. So I'm gonna slow play my set of jacks and hope that Johnny over here actually has a hand or catches up. I have hardly finished checking and he bets 2,000. So this is a good sign. This is a good slow play. He seems to be willing to put money in the pot. So I'm just going to let him do the betting from here on in. I'm going to call the 2,000. We're going to see a turn card. And what I'm hoping for is that the card doesn't help me too much, but rather helps him a little bit so that he can catch up with a hand that's still going to lose to my set of jacks. 5,000. It looks like he wants me to believe that this card helped him. I actually don't care. I want this card to help him so that he'll keep putting money in the pot on the next street. I'm going to call this 5,000. knowing that I'm still pretty much ahead of almost any hand he could have, except maybe a set of kings. And we're gonna see a river. River gives me a full house, which I think is pretty much the best hand. Enough of the time for me to try to get him to put more money in the pot. Hopefully he has something he would like to bet with.
15,000.
Now he's put in 15,000, and I can just call or I can go all in. Because the slow play is up, the river, there's no more betting left, so this is my chance to put all the chips in. I raise, all in. So I raise and Johnny calls, hardly thinking about it, so we're gonna see a showdown. Those chips in there. And I show him a full house, and he shows me... What is that? A pair of kings. So as you can see, if I had bet on the flop, Johnny would have almost surely have folded his king 7 because he had nothing on the flop. So by slow playing and letting him catch a hand on the turn, then I actually was able to extract, in this case, his entire stack. So sometimes you might think about slow playing when you have a hand that's so strong that your only option is to let all the other players catch up.
Hold your breath for more poker action only here at the Philippine Poker Tour.
And this is our updated chip count. We have a new chip leader, Richard Tampepe, who is reprising his role from the first 2 days. Dexter and Joseph still in the hunt, and Ian Brion not giving up just yet. Edwin, Bernie, and Wesley still with chips to play with. Back to action at our final table. Bernie Angeles very much in the mix here in the business end of this tournament, but well, he's obviously not happy with his whole cards there.
Did not like what he see. He looked down at his hand and all he saw was a foot.
Richard Tampepe, though, has a monster stack, so he can bully or he can wait for the smaller stacks to consolidate. There's a small stack. Ian Brion. He's got to make a move. Dexter Luna, though, has chips to play with, but he's not going to play with them on this hand.
Neither of the other two short stacks opted to make a move there when they had a chance. They must have had really awful hands or just thought it was bad timing. So now Edwin, he's got everything going for him. It's folded to him. There's only the small blind and the big blind to get through and get a pot. And he's got an actual hand.
Ace, queen of clubs, and he's going to go all in. 235,000, a bit less than 6 times the big blind.
And I love this, Bob. It's such a position where it looks like it's absolute garbage and he's just stealing, and if he gets called, they get an actual hand there. Too bad no one called.
And Edwin Hui gets a new lease on life, 312,000. So he is sticking around. Now let's learn a little bit more about one of our... Hello there, Malu, one of our dealers. Let's learn more about Bernie Angeles.
I'm Bernie Angeles from San Juan. Regular player here in Metro. Dito yung regular tourney dito, yung mga 200k. Magcha-champion din naman. Papasalamat ako lalo na kay Atty. Aliado sa PPT dahil nabigyan kami ng pagkakataon kalaro dito sa tourney na to. Lalaki ng stock ng kalaban namin eh. Pero yun nga, di ba? Player run na lang. Title, pabor din sa amin yan pag nabigyan kami ng ganung title. Nabigyan kami pagkakataong manalo. Gagawin ko sa pera, syempre, una, family. Bago yung mga kaibigan ko rin dito. Kung sakaling papipiliin ako sa fame o pera, hindi ba pwede dalawa? Fame at saka pera?
And Bernie Angeles, of course, a regular here in Metro Card Club, so he has a lot of experience under his belt. Bob Guerrero and Ron Regis here bring you the first leg of the Philippine Poker Tour. And there's Malou, and she's always nice to have on the table.
I'm not gonna disagree with you there, Bob. But sometimes, just sometimes, at the final table of a tournament this big, I'd prefer to have pocket aces over Queen 3 of diamonds. But I'll still take Malou as my dealer any given Sunday or Monday.
Those whole cards are suited for Wesley, but suitedness not as important as you might think. And there's an ugly hand for you. 7-2 offsuit.
Nothing worse than 7 deuce offsuit to play poker with.
And Edwin Hui, surprisingly taking some time to let go of this one.
He's thinking about how awful that hand was.
Richard Tampepe thinking about how we can increase that stack even more. And how about Bernie?
Well, Bernie's looking at his hand and he just completes the small blind with a suited Queen 3. And Richard can't figure out whether to raise or... So he just checks behind and they're going to see a flop real cheap. Neither player showing any form of wanting to take the spot here.
King 10 and for Richard, and the flop is 6-5 and 10. And we have an all-in here and the call.
Richard did not even take half a second to make that call. He had top pair, pretty good kicker, and an unraised spot. He figures there's no way Bernie has a 10 with a better kicker here. No way he has ace 10 and just completes the small blind. So he calls pretty fast, and true enough, he's way ahead, and Bernie is out on a limb with just a naked flush draw. Any queen will give him a better hand, but right now he's drawing pretty slim.
Will the top pair, top kicker come true for Richard? Malou is ready to show that turn card. She wraps the table. The turn card is a blank. It's a 2 of spades.
It's not the black card Bernie is looking for, but it does improve his hand a bit. Now he has a gut shot to the 4, so any 4 is good for him as well. The crowd can shout for a 4 or a club to keep Bernie in this tourney.
The river card is red. It's a 9 of diamonds. No help to Bernie. We lose Bernie, and Richard picks up another big pot, 734,000.
Wow, that hand was like a landmine. I mean, you're just walking along, minding your own business, and then boom, both players are all in, and one of them's gone, and Richard, the eliminator, is personally taking out the first two players we've lost here at the final table, and the Richard gets richer.
Meanwhile, Bernie Angeles also making good money this weekend. For 8th place, he takes home 48,000 pesos. However, Richard Tampepe with a big stack, he'll be gunning for that first prize. Let's turn you now over to Bianca Saldua, who is with our 8th place finisher, Bernie Angeles.
Earlier, kasama natin si Jay Morales. Ngayon naman, we have the second person to bust out, which is Bernie Angeles.
Maganda yung paturni ng PPT. Okay? Para sa akin yun, good. Sir Liado, thank you sa tourney.
Congratulations, you came all the way up to this point. That was Bernie Angeles, one of our veteran poker players as well, here in the Philippine Poker Tour.
3 days of intense poker action is beginning to take its toll on the remaining combatants in the first leg of the Philippine Poker Tour. Richard Tampepe, whose stack steadily increased after his day 1 and day 2 domination of the field, added yet another scalp to his list of conquests by wielding the elimination axe early in the final table. Standing in his way was tournament veteran Jay Morales, whose short stack prompted him to commit all his chips in a coin flip against the erstwhile top man, and Richard's pre-flop lead held. But as the short stacks tried to make bold moves at eating into the chip mogul's holdings, Bernie Angeles made one stab at doubling up off Richard. But his flush draw never materialized, and Angeles became another Richard Tampepe casualty. Now, with only 7 players left, who will go all the way to snare the 612,000 peso top prize and claim the first seat in the Tournament of Champions, where a spot in the WSOP main event awaits? Find out next time as we move closer to crowning our inaugural winner. For Ron Regis, the lovely Bianca Saldua, and all the people behind the Philippine Poker Tour, this is Bob Guerrero. Catch us next week for more riveting poker action. It is good night from the Metro Card Club, and you have been watching the Philippine Poker Tour.